Hey everybody, Jared of Second Life Design. Welcome back to WodShop Wednesday. Today we are talking Odie's oil. If you have been on social media at all, you have undoubtedly heard about this product. It is a hard wax oil. It's kind of a liquid that gets buffed onto wood and it oxidizes, turns into a hard wax. It's a fantastic finish. I've been using it for a long time. I really like it for many reasons. It's very fast, it repairs very quickly, and just gives a good finish. So I'm going to show you how I apply it to a project and kind of talk about some tips and tricks as I'm going along. So yeah, just stick with me. So here's what we got. This is about a 30-inch walnut floating shelf. It's got some brackets that'll go in the back, and yeah, that's basically it. As far as surface prep, this has been sanded to 150 grit, and So I raised the grain with some water, sanded it back, and kind of filled everything with epoxy or CA glue, and cleaned it up, and here we are. So, surface prep is pretty basic. I don't think you need to go as high as you traditionally would. I think a lot of people stop at 220 or so. I don't go as high. I don't find the need to. If you keep everything clean and get all the dust out of the grain, you do not need to go as high in grits. That's, to me, is you're getting the clarity no matter what, so it's just kind of you're burnishing the wood further, not letting this stuff soak in. It's critical that this stuff kind of gets pushed into the wood as much as possible to get a really good level of protection. So, as opposed to like a film finish, like a polyurethane or something, this stuff's kind of absorbing a little bit and then it oxidizes on the surface. So yeah, it's just a little bit different of a process and a little bit different of a thinking, where like a polyurethane, you're building layers up on top of the wood. This stuff's soaking into the exposed grain, and we'll get into why that's also the kind of the benefit to it as well. So this is the basic Odie's oil. I use like a bamboo skewer or something. It kind of looks kind of like an applesauce, maybe, kind of that same consistency. Work it around a little bit. It has a really sweet smell. It is not offensive in the slightest. It's an all organic product, so I've used this on cutting boards, on my countertops, in my own home. It works great, and it's just kind of that consistency. You want that, if it's a little bit warmer, it'll be a little bit runnier, and colder, it'll be thicker. So when applying this, everything's really good and clean. Take my skewer, dollop that stuff on there. Get a couple different ribbons going. The basic plastic Bondo scraper. Scrape it around. Cover as much of it as you can. There's not any rocket science to this, and this is also why I like doing it. I like this product. It's just very simple, very easy. You don't have to have any special rooms or ventilation requirements. You can do it anywhere. If you were doing something remotely, where if you were installing a countertop in someone's home or something and you had to scribe the piece to fit, you can do a spot repair of this stuff, and it's not offensive to anybody. It's not going to smell bad to anyone. So another upside to it. You can see that it really just brings out the color of the grain. This is an existing piece over here. You can kind of see a corner of it that I have already done. I wanted to show the contrast of it, from starting to finish and what it can do for the grain. So you want to use a regular rag for this. You don't want to use like a paper towel if you're doing any hand application. It's a lint thing. You want to keep the lint out of it as much as possible. So I'm going to take that and work the extra stuff into the extra areas, into those edges, get it all the way covered. It should be it's going to look wet on the surface, but you don't want any like big pools of it. You want to get it pretty well spread out, because as this stuff oxidizes, you're going to have to buff it off. So, the longer you let it sit, is a really bigger, like this line here, you wouldn't want to keep that. You want to kind of spread that out. And it doesn't take very much. Like one little jar like this will last for, I don't know how many, kind of depending on the size of the projects you're doing, but it can last a really long time. I think I had about 6 tabletops out of one jar one time, so it can cover a lot in it, a lot of surface area at one time. And this weird live edge, I'm actually just kind of rubbing it in by hand. Nothing special, but I also just want to illustrate how quick this is versus, you know, if you were doing a polyurethane or something where it would, you know, you have to put it on, let it dry. You can't do anything else in the shop. You know, you're limited in that regard. Where with this, it's once it kind of tacks up a little bit, you can go back to other operations. You can set it off to the side and you can sand on something else and go about your day. Getting the end grain here. So I've used Rubio in the same way. It is a very comparable product. I like the Odie's oil because there's not as many color choices. You have the regular oil, they have a dark oil. That's pretty much it. They have some pigments you can add in that, but I kind of am of the belief that just let the wood grain be the color. If you want dark wood, select walnut. If you want light wood, get a lighter wood, get a maple or something. It's, you know, staining things can be so subjective that where when you get to something like this, you don't really have that option and just kind of go with what you got. So I don't know what our time is here, but we're going pretty quick with this. A couple more dollops here, and we'll get the bottom of this finished, and we will be done. So, as far as repairing, I like this. If you get a scratch in this thing, you can do a spot repair where you can sand it in the one spot, take care of the scratch, and this stuff only it sticks to the exposed wood fibers. That's all. So if you sand it back in one spot and apply the Odie's again, it is only going to stick to what is exposed. It will not stick to itself. So, you know, makes repairs, and, you know, like I mentioned, if you're doing some mobile work or something, this would be fantastic for that because it blends right in. Okay, now somebody's going to say that, well, you just flipped it over on the back side of this where you had wet product. That's true. This back is, I'll finish that at a later time, but once it gets kind of the stickiness to it, it's not really going to come off. You can put it back on, you know, keep rubbing it in. It's really critical to push this stuff into the wood grain. On larger pieces, I'm going to show this at a later date. On the larger ones, I like using a buffer for it. It just goes a little bit quicker, so it's a production thing. From a production point, there is nothing faster for me than doing this. Once I have this oil on here, I let it sit for 18 hours, 20 hours, buff it off, and kick it out the door. You know, that's for the level of finish this gives and level of protection that it gives, that really can't be beat. I have not found a better finish for this application, where just the wood grain just looks fantastic. It offers a high level of protection and it's very fast. So for me, that's kind of checks all the boxes. So that's about it, guys. Looking great. Okay, that's the basics of Odie's oil. Yeah, fantastic stuff. I'm a fan. I have been a fan for a long time. I had used Rubio in the past, and the colors kind of, you know, the amount of choices kind of overwhelmed me, where it was, you know, if you want just the pure, that's fine, but then you get kind of, you know, well, what if I tried this option, or what if I tried that one, and whatever, and it's just kind of expensive to keep all the different colors around, where this jar is $40, $43, I think. It's gonna last a hell of a long time, and it just works. It's easy to fix. I have it on my kitchen counters. They've never looked better. I have walnut butcher block counters, and we do a lot of cooking, a lot of baking, abuse the counters, and this stuff holds up fantastic, holds up to water really well. I get a lot of questions about durability with it. I tell my clients when they get a table with this that it's still a good idea to use a coaster, not a total requirement. You're not going to have the water rings for the most part. So durability, you know, it seems kind of too good to be true. Like it's just this one thing and you're just putting it on and that's it. But it really does hold up well. I've done different tests, different samples. It seems too good to be true, but it's not. It's a really fantastic product. I think that any of the hard wax oils are going to be comparable. It's kind of a matter of what you're used to, what you can get accustomed to using. If you like Rubio, stick with that and get used to it. it's going to hold up the same way. I had it on a dining table for years. It still looks great. I've not messed with Osmo. I would like to. I think there's good options with it. I've just not had a need yet. They all kind of work for me. So this doesn't write off film finishes. There's still a need for lacquers. There's still a need for polyurethanes. It's just different applications. So I definitely have different tools in your kit and different options to provide to clients. But this is the one I gravitate towards. I lean towards. So I hope this kind of answers some questions. I will be doing a second video on Odies when the project gets lined up, or I'm gonna do a big single slab with it. I really want to hammer home the point of the production, how it can speed your production. So I want to show that on a big single slab of how quick you can have something finished. So any other questions, drop them down below. I appreciate everyone sticking with me with the Woodshop Wednesdays. They're a lot of fun, just trying to get good content so I'm not wasting your time. I want to get good ideas out there and help kind of build your small businesses. So appreciate everybody's patience. Any questions, drop them down below. You can find me on Instagram at Secondlifedesign. And thank you.